This time I'll call the meeting to order for the Dickson County Commission, February 16th, 2023. Would you please stand and join in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have two items to add to the agenda. One is the consideration of a money for the Cedar House. The second one is in regards to bids we have received on two culverts of 822 1400 Avenue, 1852 1400 Avenue.
852, Lynn.
852. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to accept that.
Okay, we have the motion and the second to accept the amended agenda. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The minutes or for the consent agenda includes the minutes of the February 8th meeting, also payroll of $485,757.79, credit cards of $13,636.42, utilities of $12,736.42.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
We have the motion and second for approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion or question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go to commission comments. Ron.
Yes, I did spend a little bit of time at the Juvenile Detention Center this last week, actually a week and a half. Things are going relatively well, but unfortunately we're seeing a lot more people being incarcerated and we don't have enough room. So that's kind of a good and a bad. The bad is we seem to be failing a little bit in correcting these juvenile. We have a lot more of them, don't know what to do with them. The good is obviously we're keeping the facility used to pay the bills. But so there's some serious discussion going on about what we want to do, what we can do, and how to help our society. So that's what's going on.
Is it exceeding capacity or is it just nearing capacity?
It's exceeding capacity, Lynn.
So what do they not incarcerate or send them to?
They're using some of the tag you put on, the little bracelets on some of them, and then firing them out also in different areas.
Okay.
So there's a lot of discussion on what to do. The biggest discussion would be they're discussing with Salina with their sheriff's department, their jail there, to see if they can, well, they're going to come in negotiations about that.
Okay. Craig.
Yeah, speaking of what Ron's talking about, I've talked to Nell about going over and getting a preview of the Saline County Jail before it opens up. I don't know if the other two commissioners want to go, but I certainly like to see how they change things. Going back from where we were last week, we attended the County Government Day and I was pleasantly surprised. So Representative Wellborn, I don't think represents anymore, but he stopped by. Representative Hill was there for probably half an hour.
Probably.
Yeah, and then Representative Bloom stopped by 15 or so minutes. I forgot he represents, from 33,000 Avenue to county line. So, we'll have a KAC board meeting next week on Wednesday. We've changed the meeting to after lunch. But we'll have lunch, then we'll have our meeting. There's a couple of people who can't make it on Wednesday morning, so we're changing that. And then I did attend the SCS dinner. Thought it was Farm Bureau and partnering up with Soil Conservation Service was a good fit for them. And Lynn, you might have some comments on this. The lady from Farm Bureau, I appreciate her comments, but I thought that when I talked to a couple of board members that I've seen after that, maybe they ought to have that kind of information after they present the awards to the kids for their posters and stuff. Because it was probably a quarter late before they made the presentations and stuff, and then they had the awards to the landowners after that. That's all I have.
Okay. And I'll kind of start where Craig had left off. That was a very nice dinner to attend. Of course, they have the poster contest for the kids, and so the kids show up to receive their rewards. And very creative and artistic, and messaging, a lot of the things, they go ahead and use those as placemats. Some of the winners, they'll copy those off. And so you get a chance to see their work as well as see them go up. And, the parents are there in support. So it's nice for them. And then, of course, the obvious reminder of the great work that so many people in the rural area do. They recognize someone every year for various categories. And so, very hardworking, successful farm people that are good stewards of their land. And then also knowing that a lot of the people there are previous winners. And so it's really a very nice evening. This evening, the Dixon County EDC has their board meeting. I plan to attend that. And then also Central Kansas Mental Health, we have our board meeting coming up on Monday. I think one of the things they're going to consider is some of their reinvestment as far as their CDs on a few that have come due. So it's kind of handy that we have that information here, other than I know they get a hold of the individual banks on that. So that's all I would have.
I might, the lady, the young couple young family was sat across from and next to, I won't mention her name, she'll know who I am, but the son was about 7 years old, and they got their pie and stuff, and he decided to eat his pie before he got the meal, and he took both of them in his hand. It's like a family.
Cool.
I think that's a relative of mine, so Craig.
That's well, then the younger daughter, she got coconut cream, and I looked at her and she was taking her tongue and licking it off the top.
Oh,
So I pulled it back a little bit. She got too far away, so she took her finger in.
well, it's fun to see those kids and they've got a little time on their hands and food and desserts in front of them.
Well, I said that. Well, and I'll go back to, the county government day. Well, I discussed this a little bit, is that do we want to get the Abilene Community Center, or I should say the Abilene Visitor Bureau, all involved in it? Because, well, you saw what Atchison County had with everything there. So we had a lot of people come up and ask, it's about Eisenhower and stuff like that. And we did have a couple of people come. Well, about 3 or 4 people want to know if the Brookville was open and stuff. So if we go back and do it again, we might want to take a little more information with us.
Well, it's a nice tabletop and they have them for all the counties and, some of the other groups, Register of Deeds and Highway and
Noxious weed.
sheriffs. Yes. And so, but the other thing is you do have all the tables and it's you get a little bit of a commercial. If you can capture the eye gate and get people interested enough to come in other than just recognize your county, you do want to tell a little bit of your story. And I thought Janelle did an excellent job of just interacting with people, and they would come to get some of that Russell Stover candy, but then also she would talk to them about the county. And I mean, it was a soft sell. I mean, it was just informational, but it's interesting that some people would want to stay around and visit a little bit longer and ask a few questions. And so I think we have a lot of good things going on here, and it's always good to get the word out.
Thank you. And thanks to the DK EDC for the donation of the candy. It's much appreciated.
We come back with none.
Maybe a few pieces.
And earlier today, Leah Hearn was in here and gave us an update as far as the treasurer's office. And then also Patty O'Malley happened to stop by and gave us some information on the Cedar House Foundation. And so that was helpful. And so anyway, that's all I have. This would be the time where there would be public comment. Kent, I know you're visiting today and appreciate you being here. Didn't know that you had any outstanding news or anything, but just we're here more to listen, I guess.
Well, I think there's two things of note that I could mention.
Oh, okay.
One, Felt Camps is open again, not only by appointment, but Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 6.
Okay.
So they went from just being warehousing for their other locations. And the new Holiday Inn Express is progressing also, which are two good things to note. MIH grants went out on behalf of Abilene as well as Harrington on housing.
HIM grants.
MIH,
Multiple.
Moderate income housing.
Yes, yeah.
And so on those particular grants, they're due this Friday. And for those that don't know in the audience, with those, they're grants that allow for the housing to be more attainable as the grant to be built. And that's through Kansas Housing as well as the Department of Commerce. And so we'll know those in April. And of course, then we're looking at another round of those at the end of May, which at that time, I believe that we will have Hope and Chapman that will be submitting that also. So this will be the second round for Harrington. We were not successful in the first round, but part of that was we did not have a developer in hand, and now we have the developer as well as the investors. Also at the Abilene City Commission meeting the other night, City Manager Marsh made it public that for the MIH grant as well as the developer credits in Golden Belt on the west side, it's being proposed as a 12-unit multi-housing to start out with. Also, 7 more lots have been sold or to be built on by a couple developers, as well as the good news is the for sale signs have turned into sold out there. So we're moving. As some of you know, at the Economic Development Forecast with Jeremy Hill, Wichita State, afterwards I talked to him, and Dickinson County is kind of an anomaly. A lot of other people are looking for solutions on housing, daycare, those type of things, and people are very interested in how we in Dickinson County have formed the partnerships with the county, private businesses, as well as the school districts to make inroads on daycare, or how we're finding developers on housing, because even with the slowdown, it's still very difficult to find quality builders and developers. So that's kind of a synopsis of where we're at. But again, thank you to the county and you commissioners in particular of your support for our organization, so we can be behind the scenes, bringing people together to address some of these problems. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments that anyone would want to make at this time? This would be opportunity to do so, and just state your name and address. And we've unmuted any attendees online if they would want to speak. So we do not have any comments. The next item we did have is that of a proclamation. And this is on Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month proclamation for February 2023. Whereas 1 in 3 adolescents in the United States is a victim of physical, emotional, or verbal abuse from a dating partner, a figure that far exceeds the victimization rate for other types of violence affecting youth. And whereas 1 in 10 high school students has been purposefully hit, slapped, physical or emotionally abused by a dating partner. And whereas high school students who experience physical violence in a dating relationship are more likely to use drugs, alcohol, they are at a greater risk of suicide and much more likely to carry patterns of abuse into future relationships. And whereas young people victimized by dating partners are more likely to engage in risky sexual behavior, unhealthy dieting behaviors, and the experience may disrupt normal development of self-esteem and body image. And whereas nearly half of teens who experience dating violence report that incidents of abuse took place in a school building or on school grounds, and whereas only 33% of teens who are in an abusive relationship ever tell anyone about the abuse, and 81% of the parents surveyed either believe teen dating violence is not an issue or admit they do not know if it is one. And whereas by providing young people, parents, professionals with education about healthy relationships, warning signs of abuse, relationship skills, and by changing attitudes that support violence, we recognize that dating violence can be prevented. And whereas the Domestic Violence Association of Central Kansas needs all of the Dickinson County to work toward ending teen dating violence by empowering young people to develop healthier relationships, assisting victims in assessing the information and supportive services they need, creating better and more resources for young people in need, instituting effective intervention and prevention policies in school, and engaging in discussion with family members and peers to promote awareness and prevention of the quiet epidemic of teen dating violence. Now, therefore, the Dickinson County Board of Commissioners hereby designates February 2023 as Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month and urges citizens to recognize and assist all those who serve the rights and needs of victims of teen dating violence. Is there a motion to accept this proclamation?
I'll move to accept the proclamation for teen violence.
Second.
We have the motion and the second. Any other discussion? I'll just mention that DVAC does reach out and is very involved in Dickinson County, and they offer support and a safe house and various ways to intervene and help whenever they become aware of something. So we appreciate what they do here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And I'll go ahead and sign this. And on behalf of the commission, they just had one signature line. Next item we'll go to is the reports of county officers. Janelle?
So commissioners, the highway department was out all night treating the roads in preparation of the storm that was, I guess you could say. I know we're getting snow right now, so they treated a few slick spots, and they'll monitor that. The other things that I wanted to brief you on, the 800 Avenue Bridge, they had a meeting with KDOT, and they will be starting that project on February 27th. And if you recall, this is an off-system bridge program that's an 80-20 split between us and the state. The award was awarded in 2020 to Reese Construction. The total estimated cost is $803,919, of which our share would be $177,000. So it's a little higher than what we were projecting, actually, but Martin has it in his budget to move forward with that. It's an 80-foot steel beam that we're replacing, and they're looking at 95 working days on that is what they're estimating right now. So they're starting a little earlier than what we were anticipating. We were thinking it would be in March, so that's good news. The other thing is next week, the highway department will be working in the 1300 block of 3600 Avenue, replacing a 20-foot structure there. We will have to close the road, and it will be closed for 3 or 4 weeks, and we're closing the road because we're driving steel. So, and that's probably 3 to 4 week project on that. So that's the only things that I have to report right now.
Okay, thank you. Doug?
Thank you. You may recall the last meeting that we had, I'd asked for you to authorize Tim West to sign the documents for the settlements of the next round of opiate cases, and you did so. They have to be signed by April the 18th. They have all been signed. And so we've got copies back of those, and that part's taken care of. There'll be funding coming from that somewhere down the road. And that's all I've got.
Okay. And I'll just mention quickly, Doug, while you're up there, Leah Hearn was in here earlier, so she went ahead and provided us with a list of what you've been working on the 2023 tax foreclosure. And there's still opportunity for people
There are.
to talk to her and bring money in to.
Yes, they can still do that up through April the 5th. And then we have a court appearance in front of Judge Rozier. And if there are still some that have not taken care of that matter, well, then at that date, we'll be asking the judge for a judgment. and moving forward towards sales. And so those who have waited until that date and then expect to come in and pay the same amount, there'll be additional costs assessed, $550 on each parcel, in addition to their past due taxes. So they could pay up until the time of the day before that we actually sell the real estate, but they're paying a lot more than if they just paid it now.
Okay.
Anything else on that?
Nope, thank you.
Thank you.
Notices and communications, we did have a letter from the Kansas Historical Society to inform us that at their February 4th, 2023 meeting, the review board of the Kansas Historic Sites approved the nomination of William Henry and Minnie Liggett residents to the Register of Historic Kansas Places. And of course, that's located in Harrington and owned by Daniel and Christina McDonald, 519 North D Street, Harrington. And that's all I had as far as communication, unless anyone else had something they'd want to bring up. We'll go ahead and move on. We do not have any resolutions to consider, or there is no unfinished business. Under other business, we have the annual noxious weed eradication report. Janelle?
This is an annual report, obviously, that we send into the state, and the eradication progress report is a breakdown of our personnel and then the financial summary. We look at the budget and then the expenditures for 2022 and the revenue that we had gleaned. Also that they cover the amount of acreage that was treated throughout the year and broken out by the categories. You know, category A is hoary cress and quackgrass and kudzu, and then category B is Canadian thistle, and C is the bindweed. So they break that down also by township as to what was sprayed. The other report that goes along with this is the management plan for noxious weed, and that lays out the goals and priorities of the noxious weed department. So obviously doing our statutorily required, jobs that we're supposed to do. It just breaks this down as how we're going to do that. And we have the estimated cost, how we're operating, and personnel and equipment and that. So we're just asking that you sign the agreement, and then we'll get it submitted to the state.
Is there a motion to approve and sign the annual noxious weed eradication report?
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
We have the motion and the second for approval. Any other discussion or question? Oh, yes, Craig.
I know we discussed this, not really part of the motion or anything, but how we come along about getting able to break township.
We're getting that information. We're still compiling some to make sure we're on the right path.
That's all I know.
Okay. So we have the motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next two items we have to consider were added to the agenda. And the first one is in regards to the Cedar House. And that was a contribution of, I don't know if it's a contribution, it's funds from the opioid
Settlement, correct.
settlement, and it's specific for certain things. So Janelle, would you want to go ahead and maybe give the brief on that? And
This would be monies that the Cedar House would use for their art and horticultural workshops. And this is a therapy program that they offer, and they're working in conjunction with Drug Court, which Dickinson County facilitates here. We've got, I don't know if Patty said how many participants, but at least 4 females, if not more, participate through Drug Court in the programs, and that's a mandatory program that the judge requires them to work with. She also opens it up to other women in the county that are battling alcohol abuse, opioid abuse, physical abuse, and it's been a very successful program. It's been in effect for 10 years. Basically, and then she is just asking for some additional funding to help keep the program going. And I will say, at the meetings that I have attended through Drug Court, it has been very beneficial. There's also I would call it a mentorship. They have recovering addicts that assist the newcomers coming in, and I think it's been a great program for them.
I did appreciate Patty's comment, though, that she wants the legacy to continue
Right.
after she steps away from it. So that's positive. I mean, it's not one of those programs that something happened to her, it's just going to
Mhm.
expand or whatever. So I did appreciate that.
Right, and she's got the greenhouse here, and then also the community meeting room in Enterprise where they can facilitate that. And she had the residents there on Lark Road where Cedar House was located. So it's spread around, and she's helped a number of people, which is what we want the program to do. So.
And the Oxford House that she'd like to.
Right, they're setting aside funding to put in an Oxford house similar to what Saline County has. It's a sober living house, and it would be for women, which would be a good thing. And we don't have anything like that in the county, so which I think is necessary for the success of recovering.
I did appreciate her comment that, they're helping very intense, one individual at a time, but the fact that part of their success, these people also the number of lives that they touch, because
Right.
they have children and they have other relatives and sometimes parents and so on. And so it's, it not only makes a difference for that individual as far as a recovery and so really it's not, it's a hand up for them to help them and not, so it really does make a difference.
It's a direct benefit from the opioid settlement, and it does fit within the guidelines of that as well.
Okay. The amount we had discussed was $7,500. Is there a motion?
I'll second it.
We have the motion to approve $7,500 for the Cedar House. And the motion is second. Any other discussion, comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item we have is Martin had brought this in. And so Janelle, if you'd go over that as far as a couple of culverts that we bid out that need work.
When they were out, when they were out working on the snow, they came across two culverts that need to be replaced. The first one is at 822 1400 Avenue, and the second one is at 852 1400 Avenue. So we requested bids very quickly. We actually did that yesterday, and the reason that we're doing this so fast is because steel prices fluctuate so much, and they're requesting we get the bids done as soon as possible. So the first one was for Wellborn Sales for both of them, and this is a 60-inch by 48-foot and a 42-inch by 48-foot T2 aluminum gauge, heavy gauge culverts, and that bid was for $5,024.45. The second bid came from Contact, and that bid was for, where's my notes? $6,622.08. So the recommendation would be that we approve the bid. You approve the bid from Wellborn Sales.
So moved.
I'll second it.
We have the motion and second for approval of the low bid from Wellborn Sales, $5,024.45. This is for two culverts. As Janelle mentioned, 822 1400 Avenue, 1852
52.
850. Well, I just got that in there
Okay.
twice now. Okay. So for 1822 1400 Avenue.
822 and 852.
So I put the one on both of them.
Just let you know.
I need to listen a little closer, I guess. So
That's okay. It's very possible. I said 18.
don't want them to go to the wrong address to put those in. So we have the motion and the second. Any other discussion other than we have the clarification on the address? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other business to come before the commission before we adjourn?
So moved. We adjourn.
I'll second it.
We have the motion and second to adjourn. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.